go ahead and get started because we don't have very much time. I just want to introduce myself. Most of you already know me. My name is Rayanne Hurst, and Darren asked if I would just do a quick Lexia Basics for those of you who are working in schools that it's new and you've never seen this program, you've never tried this program, you know nothing, because on Friday we're going to have a training, more advanced training from a lady named Marcy that works for Lexia. And in order for you to feel like you know what's going on Friday, you're going to want to know some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. And there's a lot of coaches, because this was last minute, that weren't able to be here today. And so Alta asked me a couple hours ago if we'd record it. So thank you, Rebecca. She's just recording on my phone. Is the little green thing moving up and down when I talk? Okay, that's all I need to know. So we're going to be going through this, and I will share this slide deck with you so that you can have the information that's on it. But mostly, I'm going to give you some very basic information. Hi, Larly. And then we're going to actually get in and do some stuff in the Lexia. Hopefully, you all have an account. If you do, it was in an email. Don't worry if you don't, because we have a demo account we'll use today, and we can work on that later. But you should have had a Lexia email sent to you with your account information, and it's just your district email, and then you set the password. So even if you don't have an email, you should be able to, if you have an account, should be able to get to it from the login page. But today, I'm probably just going to have you working in the demo account. So to get started, let me grab this. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what Lexia is. Lexia is a reading program. It's differentiated, it's personalized, and it's an internet-based program that the students work through automatically. You don't have to do it with them. They're doing it alone. It's supported by the Literacy K3 grant. So a lot of people hear things like, only kindergarten through third grade does Lexia, only kindergarten through third grade gets Lexia. That's not actually true. So we need to clarify that, because I think there's even some principals, right, Penny, that aren't aware that Lexia is provided for K6 through this grant, but only K3 is being reported to decide whether the grant's going to continue. And the reason they're doing that is they're looking at our DIBEL scores to decide if this program is being used efficiently to help our kiddos. So that's probably where maybe our principals and other people are getting confused, is they think, oh, only K3 needs it, but no. K6 has access to it, but only the K3 determines whether your school is going to keep the grant. Does that make any sense at all? Do you guys have any questions about that? Lacey?
How much like use does K3 have to do?
So she's asking, I'm going to repeat your questions for the microphone, but she's asking how much usage K3 will need, and that depends on the child. Okay, so but what the grant is looking for is the children that they're reporting on, which is your red and yellow K3 DIBELS kids, have to use the program 80% of the time for 80% of the school year. And that matters because as they're going through this program and they use it more and more and they meet their usage minutes, for example, let's say our first graders get on and they have, after they do the auto place, which we're going to talk about, they're going to have different amounts of time that they're required to do depending on how well they did on the auto place. So your low kids are probably going to have anywhere from probably about 60 minutes a week, 60 minutes a week. If they meet that 60 minutes a week, then they're considered 100%, even if they're still below skill level than they need to be. That's what the grant wants. It's usage, not skill, that they're looking at. So even if our little red and yellow Dibbles kids don't move in their skill level in Lexia, that's not going to affect the grant. It's just their usage minutes. If they're meeting those usage minutes at least 80% of the time. Okay? So this is how, and remember, you're going to get this slide deck, so don't worry about writing this down right now. This is how you access Lexia. So there's two sides of Lexia, kind of like Dibbles has the teacher side for reporting and the student assessment side. It's kind of the same. So the teacher goes to lexialearning.com. Your district emails your username and your password you're going to create after the first time. The students are going to go to lexiacore5.com, and it's going to be their SSID number. So that 7-digit number that is assigned to them. But we don't know when. Clever is coming soon to help with logging in. And that's all I'm going to say, and don't ask anything more about it. Right, Darren? We'll let you know when it's up and ready to go. But it has the advantage to help us get them logged in more easily once we get it set up and going. Lorley?
Sorry, this could be wrong. I'm not this question, but after Core 5, there's another one.
Right, so Lorley's question is, after they're done with all of the Core 5 program, there's 18 levels in it that I'll show you. Once they're done with that, they're done. And you can be in 4th grade, you can be in 3rd grade. If you've gone through all 18 levels, you're done with Core 5 program. So if you're a 6th grader, you can have access to something new that's called Power Up, and our schools do have access to that, and we're trying to get that kind of figured out, and we'll let you know more about that as we do, and maybe our presenter on Friday can help us know more about that. That is basically an intervention program for 6th through 12th graders. So it's really not something all 6th graders should be using. It's more there for the kids that are struggling still. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and we'll just give that info.
Emily?
I was talking to today, I like the way she explained it, that it's just not it's the same program of the K through 5 one, but in not baby terms. So it looks older and more mature, which our 6th graders need.
Okay, so what she just said is that it's kind of the same program that Core 5, I'm sorry, I'm repeating for the people that are going to watch the video. They can't hear you. It's the same program, it's just not in baby, not quite as babyish for those big kids. All right, so students can access Core 5, the Core 5 app on iPads. The way that this is what the app looks like right here. And this is pushed onto the iPads by the school tech. And it's pretty slick and easy for them to do. Probably, I don't know that all of the techs have been told how to do that, but it's not very hard. It's just through whoever their system that they push apps into the iPads. So they can do all the iPads at once. And then as soon as that iPad, it's kind of cool actually, I watched it last year happen. As soon as that iPad links to Alpine Network, then it's going to show up on the iPad. If it doesn't, then we need to talk to the tech and see if we can get it pushed on. It's also accessible to the students on computers and Chromebooks. So I actually even had kindergarten kids using this last year on Chromebooks, and the teacher just went in and she bookmarked the site. And then all they had to do was push the bookmark, and then they were ready to log in. And even the kindergartners, even though at the beginning of the year it's very stressful for the teachers because the kids have to log in with that big long SSID number that they have, eventually within 3 weeks or so, the kids could actually, most of them, do it themselves. And there's lots of different ways that we can talk about sometime about how to manage that. Some people had parents in to help get them logged in. Some had like 6th graders come in and help them those first little few weeks to help them. But there's some different ways that you can think of to kind of help those kinders to do it. And 1st grade's going to have a hard time too, their first time. But they get pretty good pretty fast. Our kids these days are pretty quick to learn this stuff. Again, Clever will do all that stuff more easily, but for now, we're going to probably not have it ready before your teachers want to do this. And so just go ahead and let them do it that way. Maybe don't even mention clever. And then when we bring it to them, they're going to be so grateful and they'll bring you treats and stuff. Okay, so the next thing that's really important for you to understand as coaches is how to help teachers get the login print tickets for their students. So the way that they do that is they go to this site right here, lexialearning.com, and once they've logged in as a teacher, they're going to have this screen come up, and we're going to go through it in a little bit later. But the first thing that they're going to want to do is get login tickets for all of their kids. And what they do is just go down here to the bottom where it says print and hover over it, and then you're going to see several choices. You're going to want to have them do print login cards. Their students are already in there, and it's going to generate all of it for them. And then they're just going to cut them. I think there's about 8 on a page. So they'll just cut them up and have the little ticket for their students. And all it is their SSID number. So your big kids probably already know it. But that first little while, you can have that available to them. I highly recommend to teachers that they make 2 copies. One to cut up and one to keep on their clipboard for when their kids can't find their ticket. Or the kindergarten teachers would go in order to get their minutes. They would go in on Mondays to the computer lab and have all of their students do Lexia for about 30 minutes. And that way the kids that still need some help, the teacher just has her clipboard and she can go in and kind of help them do their ID. Otherwise, you're spending a good 10-15 minutes logging kids in, which is wasting a lot of your time that you would want them in the program getting those usage minutes. Any questions about that? Lindsay?
What if a student isn't showing in their roster or they get a new movement or something like that?
Okay, so Lindsay asked what to do if a student's not showing in their roster or if they get a new move-in. So Lexia is going to sync to Skyward every night. So as soon as a child is in Skyward, they should show up the very next day in Lexia. If that's not happening, they're going to come talk to us as innovative learning coaches or instructional coaches, and we're going to go and say, hey, we need to figure out why this kid is not showing up. So that's a story for a different time that we'll talk about. But we do need to make sure that all the kids are in there. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to log in if they aren't showing in the teacher's account. They're not going to log in. Hi, Shauna. All right, so the first time the students get on Lexia, Core 5 app, or on their computer, they're going to be auto-placed, it's called. And so this is going to need anywhere from 10 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on the age and ability of your students. We noticed that the kinders and first graders were taking anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes to do an auto-place. I would for sure schedule as a teacher at least 40 to 45 minutes because you're going to have, that's your first time to do logging in, and so you're going to have issues. And maybe even as an innovative or instructional coach, you're going to say, hey, I'll be in there with you that first time for those littles. If you are able to do that, that's going to give them a little bit of stress relief, and they can help your little kiddos get going. So once they take the auto place, then the program decides what they need, where they need to start. And the next time they log in, it's going to put them at that level, and they'll just start the program, and they'll start moving through the levels. For example, maybe you have a first grader who's still missing some skills in kindergarten, and they're going to be in maybe even a pre-K level. That's okay. So what they're going to do is just start in that pre-K level. They don't really know, they're not told, oh, you're at a kindergarten level in your first. They don't know that. They just know they're starting on level 2 or level 3 or whatever like that. They don't say the grade on it. And they're going to go through those levels and hopefully get back up by the end of the year to where we would hope they would be in first grade. Let me clarify one thing, because a lot of my teachers would freak out quite a bit last year when they would see all of their students, and some of them were their high readers. They've done a DRA in this child and they're reading on 2 grade levels ahead, and this program's putting them a year or 2 behind. The thing that we need to remember, and especially when talking with parents, really impress this upon your teachers, is Lexia is not testing their reading level, it's testing their reading skills. So we found a lot of our upper grade kids, when they did this auto place, they were showing up in second grade. We had fifth graders, sixth graders showing up because we switched the sixth to do core 5. And they were showing up in like second and third grade level. And it really upset teachers. And we kind of had to teach them, it's just saying they're missing some major holes in their reading. So the core 5, how many of you remember 2-3 years ago when the district trained us on the National Reading Panel stuff and the 5 areas? I think we helped train it, right? So the National Reading Panel did a lot of research to show to create good, strong readers, we need to have those 5 areas: phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. Core 5, that's why it's called Core 5. It's covering those 5 areas that the National Reading Panel said all kids need to be strong readers. And so this whole program is based on skills within those 5 areas, based on at this age they should be able to do this in this area. At this age they should be able to do this in this area. So after they go through that auto place program, they're going to be put wherever that program says they need to be. So just be aware if a student is goofing off when they're taking the auto place, they might get put down in a level where the teacher's like, they're way higher than that. The trainers really encourage you not to change or have them retake the auto place. They're saying if they're goofing off, let them go through the program. If they're really that bright, they're going to go through it really fast. It's not going to hurt them. But maybe they really do have some holes that the teacher isn't aware of. Because how many of us as teachers have had students, I've had them, where they could read anything you stuck in front of them, but they couldn't retell you the story to save their soul. You know, they have no comprehension skills, or they've been a sight reader their whole life, and so they don't know how to do phonics. They don't have a clue how to do the vowel sounds even. So that's why this program might put them lower than what we would think they should be at. So to kind of help teachers with that, because they're going to freak out about it. Linz?
We also found that in 5th and 6th grade, a lot of them were like, this is taking too long, and so they just started to click through. And so then they were getting so that they were placed a lot lower, but they were able to pass the levels really fast if they really
Right. So what Lindsay was just saying is that sometimes the 5th and 6th grade, especially, the auto place takes a long time, and it's tedious and hard work for them. And so they just start clicking because it's taken them so long and they don't want to keep doing it. And then it places them lower, but they're really higher and they could move through those faster. Pam?
I've heard both strategies. Are we supposed to have them do an auto place every year, or should they just continue where they left off?
No, that's a good question. They should not auto place every year. Their very first year, your first year of your school doing it is going to be the most painful one. After that, it's not going to be too bad. Because once a child has auto placed, you don't need to auto place them again. They'll just pick up where they left off last spring.
If you reset them to auto place, it will delete.
Yes, that's important to know. You physically, as a teacher or a coach, can go in and change that and make them auto place again. But if you do, they will have lost all the data that was collected from them being auto placed and doing the program. So you really want to think about, do I really want to do this? Let me give you an example of maybe why you might want to do that. So last year we had a 5th grader that was in resource, struggle, hard working girl. And she started very low, like at a 2nd grade level after she was auto placed, worked, passed the whole program. Went through, this was in, I think, Miss King's class. And by the end, she had tested out. She was done. She wasn't even in it anymore because she'd passed level 18. But the resource teacher came to me at the end of the year and she said, Rayanne, she's going to lose stuff over the summer. And she loves it. She would do this for hours if we'd let her. So can we put her back in? So we just went into that child and put her back on a 2nd grade level so that in the summertime she could practice those skills again. That's maybe when you might want to do that. Another time you might want to do that is we have a life skills teacher who we've gotten a lot of our life skills, our Downs kids doing this program with some help from parents. we just automatically, we didn't auto place them. We just stuck them on pre-K, level 1, because they struggle with, you know, a lot of the different things. They have problems hearing rhyming, especially the Downs kids. And so eventually they just were stuck. And so unless you sat there and did it with them, they weren't going to pass that section. And so we went in and then just moved them up a level to let them skip that. There's no reason for them to be frustrated. And the trainers will tell you another time that would happen is some of our L's. There's going to be certain things that they just will not pass, and they're just going to get frustrated because they're going to finish part of their level and then they're going to get stuck. And then as a Sherry.
So one of our teachers was asking on science that it's a 5th grade student, and it's many of them, it's like pretty much our whole class is showing on like 2nd grade level. Like how do I, like she just doesn't know if they just didn't do much last year, but she's like, she recognizes that she would erase data if she like, reset. Right. Like,
so she's talking about how a 5th grade teacher is noticing that a lot of her kids, sorry, I'm repeating for the camera, are on 2nd grade level, and what should she do? She should just let them go through the program. And if they really are higher than that, they'll move through it pretty fast. Emily.
I just want to clarify for my understanding. So if you set it to autoplay, we will lose it. But if you just put a level in, we don't lose the data.
That's correct.
So that's a better thing to do than autoplace them again.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a good question. If you clicked them back a level, you might lose the data from the upper levels. So.
Oh, okay.
But where she had finished the whole program, it really didn't matter.
Sure, no, I get that, but if we're trying to use this data to prove like what's happening, we don't want to lose that this kid did all of that work, right?
Exactly.
So if you as a teacher know, yep, they finished it, but I want them to go back to level 3 because they're still not reading for me, blah, 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 I don't know.
I'll look into that because I'm not sure if they lose the data on that. We could ask Marcy too on Friday. So you guys remember to ask her that. Good question. All right. So I want us to give it a try. Let me go through and kind of show you. You guys can log on to this as well. So you're going to go open a tab and go to mylexia.com. And then your username is class@core5demo.com and your password is success. And that's a good idea if you want to take a picture of it because I'm going to go out of this and if we get lost. You guys as coaches are welcome to use this at any time to like teach from or anything like that. I'm working with Amy Mather right now, and I've told her that as coaches, instructional or innovative coaches, we really need to have admin rights. And so she said she could do that, but I just need to get her a list. This is all happening today, so I haven't done it yet. So I'm going to get Amy Mather a list of all of us and which schools we're at. And then she's going to put us in as admin, and then you can see your whole school. And the reason we're doing that is because last year I didn't have admin rights and I was constantly asking teachers for their password, which as an innovative learning coach, I feel like I have to be a better example than doing that. So I'm trying to get admin rights to some of these programs so I don't have to ask teachers.
I'm sorry, I'm being like, I
no, you're not
meeting today about it, so that's why.
I'm just
but there is somebody at your school who has admin rights, and they can go in and give you admin rights. I got them today. I have my person at the school. It's super easy to do.
That's good to know.
If you want to do it
there are a few schools that don't have someone with admin rights, and getting them added has been really hard.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So, but for me,
that's great to know, though. So you might, as coaches, want to have your principals try to add you. Maybe you and I can make a video of how to do that so we can show the principals. Yeah. And then in those that can't get it to work, we could have Amy do it. That'll save Amy a lot of time. Thank you, Emily. That's great. Okay, I'm going to go out of this. Everybody have it? So you should be here. Hopefully you've logged in with the class at core5demo.com and then password is success. Is there anybody that's not here? You guys are speedy. All right, so this is obviously a demo account, and this is what will come up for the teachers whenever they log into this. What I want to do before I talk about anything on this page, and I'm not going to talk about much on this page because I feel like Marcy's going to probably, I don't know what exactly she's planning to do. Maybe Darren knows a little bit better, but I think she's going to be talking to you quite a bit about the reports on this page. So I'm not going to really touch on that very much today. I'm just going to try to get you to the point where you can log in, you can help teachers log in, you can get their passwords printed, and you understand the student program a little bit. Okay? If you guys have other questions, I can help you with that too. So this is for your information also. If you wanted to follow along with me and go to resources, right here, now this is a demo account, so it looks different for us now. I've noticed I have, instead of strategies, I think, I have power up. So we're going to look at the Core 5 program, and anytime you want to, like, maybe your teachers want to put this up on the screen and show their students what they're going to do as like a direct instruction thing, they can go into their program and go to student program like this, and then they would use their login. You guys can do the same with me. It's class@core5demo.com success. And just say yes. This is what it looks like for kids.
Mine didn't make that sound.
Maybe it did, just not so loud. So just so you know, this is what the students, they actually don't see this when they first log in. This is only the educator mode, and the teacher has access to every single level and so that they can go through and see what the kids do at every level if they were to desire to do so. But most teachers really don't have time for that. So what I'm going to do really quickly, in fact, if you want to just watch me really quick, I'm going to do a very fast program features thing, and then we're going to go back and play around in it, okay? So this is how we log in. The students would put their SSID number in both places there to get going. Then we've talked about auto placing. This is what the students are going to see when they first sign in. This is their dashboard. And what it's showing them, you can see that this is the world. And this whole program is focused around the world. Each level is happening at a different place. So each of these numbers is a level. And that just tells you they're going to learn about something in that part of the world in that level. So they've kind of tied it into some interesting facts, you know, whatever, the tropical rainforest or the beach or the forest or things like that. So we can see that I'm on this demo is on level 12. And what this says to the student is Mike B is in the Great Barrier Reef, level 12. And for this week, his goal for the week is 40 minutes. He has done 15 minutes and he has 25 minutes to go. Okay? And so far this week, he's completed 3 units. And I'm going to explain to you what the units are in just a minute. So this is a log out. This is actually kind of an important thing. You want to make sure that the teachers teach their students to always log out with this little X, because if they don't, it kind of messes up their usage minutes, okay? So that's kind of an important thing for them to always use that X to log out when they're done. When the student, after they've done the auto place, the very next time and every time thereafter, they're always going to have a 1-minute automatic warm-up. And it's usually some kind of sort. It's based on their level and kind of what they've been working on. And I'm going to show you that in just a minute. The cool thing about the Lexia is they do the to, with, and by pretty well on this program. So the students are going to be doing, when they first start, they're going to have a standard lesson where they have to do it. And you'll notice this green line across the bottom. This means they're about this far down in this unit. A unit usually lasts anywhere from 1 minute to 5 minutes, depending on how the student's doing. If it goes a lot longer than that, something's wrong. That child needs some assistance, okay? So one thing that's very important too for teachers to teach their students is if they click this little X button before they've finished the bar all the way to the end, they're going to lose that unit. The minutes will count, but they'll have to redo this particular lesson. Does that make sense? So as a teacher managing this in maybe a rotation, you're going to want to say, okay, kids, you have 5 more minutes. Make sure you finish a unit and don't start another one. And then we're going to be done and clean up. Does that make sense? Because you can't immediately expect them to stop and keep their unit. So if a child's going along and they get one miss, and if they have more trouble, then it's going to pop them into this the guided practice. And this is going to give them, it's going to limit some of their choices, and it's going to make it a little bit easier for them to do. And you'll notice that it's got a blue line across the bottom. Same thing, you want them to finish all the way to the end. If they get 2 or 3 right, it's going to pop them back over here to the green instructional before they finish that unit. And finally, if they struggle, it's going to kick them into direct instruction. It's going to actually tell them what they're supposed to know and what they're supposed to be doing, and that's yellow across the bottom. Once they get that, they'll push them back into the green and hope that eventually they get through the green. If they're really taking a long time, this is all the same unit. If they're really struggling as a teacher, that means you need to step in and help them with this. They need some more help. All right. Let's see. This supports language learners. The only thing that I feel like it doesn't do very well, I know it doesn't do very well at all, is it doesn't support speaking. So Imagine Learning, they actually had a speaking component where they put the headset on and had to talk in. This program does not do that. So I do feel like that's a weakness in this program. Instructional materials, I'm going to show you those in just a minute, but they have basically 2 sets of instructional materials. For the children that are struggling with some lessons in the program, they're going to alert you to that, and they have already prepared lessons on that topic that you can use to teach them in a small group. You could do it one-on-one if you wanted to, or maybe you have a lesson you prefer, but they do have materials available to you. They also have another set of resources called Skill Builders, which is a deceptive name, I feel like, because it feels to me if it's a skill builder, it's helping them learn and practice, but what it really does is it's for reinforcing something they've already passed off. Basically, it's just busy work. It's giving them more practice on something they've already shown that they can do. I tell teachers that, in my opinion, skill builders are nice for when you have a sub, right? And then ultimately the kids are so excited, and you would be amazed, even the big kids get really excited about getting this certificate. There's several types of certificates they can get. I like this one because it actually does an ICANN here, and you send this home with them, and it tells the parents exactly what they learned and what they did in the program. It also tells them things they can do at home to keep reinforcing what they learned. So this is what they get at the end of a level. So this child completed level 15. All right, so I want to show you what it's going to look like for the students. I'm going to go into, let's go into the Amazon rainforest. Sorry, that's so loud. And you guys can, I'm going to give you time to go in and explore this a little bit, but let me just kind of show you. Again, this is not what students see. This is only the teachers can see this. This is going to show you the 5 areas they're working on, the activity, and the skills that they're building.
Get ready to warm up. Choose an activity to begin.
I don't know why it's so loud. I have it off. Anyway, so here's the 1-minute warm-up, right?
Choose the letter you hear at the beginning of each word. See how many you can do before the time's up. Ready? Go. Bug.
So for 1 minute, they go through this little program. And it tells them if they got it right. If you get it wrong, it tells you you got it wrong. It gives you another try. I'm going to skip that, but they would do it for 1 minute, and then it would move them into this. And it does a little introduction. I'm going to let it do it because I want to show you something else that it'll do too. Just takes it a few 30 seconds or so to get going. Telling them they're on level 4. These are the areas they're going to focus on. And now, this is what the kids are going to see when they get logged in to each level. They'll have 5 different activities that they're going to be working on. In each of these activities, you can see these little bars around it. Those are the units. And the unit, sorry, am I messing you guys up over there? Were you able to turn it off over there? So each unit is what I showed you. That's going to last anywhere from a minute to 5 minutes if they're doing well. And then as they finish a unit, it's going to fill in right here. The reason I wanted to show you this is something the teachers might want to show their students is if they have a little sparkly thing happening, it'll just tell them interesting information about the rainforest. So it's kind of just, that's where you get kind of the little interesting facts. The other thing I wanted to show you, to pass off a level, they have to do every unit in this section, and then they're going to click over here, and they're going to do all of them in this section. Before they finish all of this, these for them are going to have a little lock on them. So we're giving them some autonomy and some choice about which one they want to do today. But we are making them do all of these before they can move on to all of these, and then they pass a level. So it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, usually if a child is getting their usage, and they should finish a level. Does that make sense? So there's levels, 18 levels. There's the 5 different activities in each level, and there's units inside those activities. So that's kind of how it's organized for the kids. Does that make sense? I want to give you a chance to go in and just explore some of these little activities. So you go ahead and choose whichever level you want and go in and take like 5 minutes and just try some of those. I'm going to turn this way down so we don't bother the room. I don't think it's got a pause, but we can just stop it, and then I will. There's a few things on this teacher site that I'm going to show you that I don't know that Marcy will talk about, because I've been given the impression Marcy's going to talk about reports. And so I did want to make you aware of some of the things that your teachers have access to. When you're on this screen that first comes up, there's a lot of information on this page that I think Marcy will talk about. It's going to show you which kids still need their minutes and how many minutes they need. It's going to tell you which kids are struggling and which concepts they're struggling with. It's going to show you that these students are ready for skill builders, which again, I feel, don't tell Lexia I said this, but unless you're getting a sub, probably you don't need to use those. And then here it will tell you if there's kids that need a certificate. So it's going to tell you which kids need it. You can actually click on it and it will take you to the certificate right there. Okay? But I want to show you some other ways that you can get to that. So the one thing I want to show you before we go in 10 minutes is, well, I'm going to show you 2 things. I'm going to show you this resources tab, and that's where we went to get to the student program. And the other thing that I wanted to show you is this is where you can get all the Lexia lessons, not just the ones that your students need for that week. So if you click here and then you say, oh, I have a kid that needs to practice their letter matching, you just click on that and say open lesson. It's going to give you kind of like a introduction page, and then there's the whole lesson right there. All scripted out. It's really quite nice if you're doing it more as a double dose for maybe a para to do, or even if you had a parent that you trusted as a teacher, you could even have them do some of these things. The one thing I would encourage you to do is that if it's a tier 2 situation, that really should be done by the teacher. If it's a double dose, the teacher's doing it and you want to have somebody else doing it, it's fine that way, but you shouldn't be really having your paras and your parents doing tier 2 instruction. That's a teacher responsibility, okay? That's kind of something that people are struggling with. So going back, then other resources, maybe. I have to go right here and go backwards, sorry. There's the skill builders. So let's say you're like me and you're going to go scuba diving for the 3 days before fall break, and you're a teacher and you just want to have a review week and you want to have this stuff for the sub, and it's not that important that you're teaching direct instruction. So maybe you go in here and you find some great resources that you want to have for the sub to do. There's all the skill builders right there, and it tells you what skills that they're working on. But they are pretty much just worksheets, just so you know. So you can see all those there. The other resource that I wanted to show you is this training on demand videos. So Melody, that's what you were talking to me about. And these are actually pretty helpful. I know as a coach, I used them quite a bit last year. If I needed to find out how to do something, I would go in and watch these different videos right here. So my Lexia login, creating staff accounts, creating classes, all this kind of thing. Another thing just to be aware of, I'm not going to take the time to show you how, but if you want to know how, you can go in and create a class for the resource teacher so that she has access to all of her kids, and she doesn't have to go to each teacher's account. And then she has her own class, and I can show you that at another time. And that's wonderful. The resource teachers will love all of you.
Does that keep the kids enrolled in 2 classes?
Nope, it's everything is running through their ID number. They're just showing up in 2 places, but it's not affecting their account. They're not doing 2 different programs. Yeah. Melody?
The small group autism units, do they have access to this as well? I
would assume they do, because I know our life skills teacher has it. So her kids are enrolled. If they're in Skyward and they're a teacher, they should have that. If not, have them, we should talk to maybe the principal to add them, because it sounds like principals or whoever is an admin at that school can add teachers to that. I'm not going to take the time to show you how to do all that right now, because that's more of an advanced thing, but anybody who wants to know that, I'm happy to show you guys maybe Friday if she doesn't talk about it Friday. But you can create, you can add teachers to your staff, and you can add students to a class. And it's not too hard, but I'm going to not take the time to do that. So some of you asked about, let me go back from this because I want to show you how I got to it. So I'm in resources right now, and this little, it's kind of overlapping, but the Core 5 Resources Hub, this is where you can get a lot of different stuff. There's support, there's classroom resources. Let me show you. This is another way to get to those Lexia lessons and those skill builders. Student achievement is where you can go to get these certificates. So this is the certificate that they automatically would generate for you. But maybe instead you want to do a different one. It's going to look like this. It doesn't give as much information about what the child did, but you could write it on there yourself. This is one our first grade did last year, because, you know, they're first grade, and they think it's fun to color still, a lot of them. So it's just a black line. So when their kids passed it off, the teacher just had like 10 of each level printed out in a little filing cabinet. She would hand it to them with their name, and then they could color it in. That was kind of their reward for passing a level. It's cheaper that way too. A lot of schools, the principal's paying to print the certificates, and the coach is in charge of printing and passing them out every week. So maybe on Mondays, the coach goes through. I know that Sylvia did this, and I think that Nancy Butters does it, and maybe Kelly, I can't remember. But they just are in charge of figuring out who needs certificates. They have an admin account, so they can go do all that. They print them on a color printer, and they go around to the classes on a Monday and say, so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so got their certificates, and there's usually a candy attached and a little excitement. So it's kind of a big deal. Some schools have a big bulletin board at the front of the school with a rocket showing how the different classes are moving through the levels as a class to kind of motivate it. Let's see, what else? There's a letter also that you can send home in the resources to explain to parents what's going on and what their child's username and password is. And so it's wonderful if you can get parents to do it at home, because especially those kiddos that are struggling, they're going to have high usage minutes, and it's hard to get 80 minutes in a week at school. So if they can get their parent to put them on, that's fantastic. One thing that Pam told me about too, and I don't have a way, she's going to send me the link and I'll show it to all of, we can share it with all of you for Friday. One thing that happens every time a new device is used is it's going to ask for a teacher email to register the device. So usually you only have to do it once, but sometimes if they're Chromebooks and they're being shared, it's going to make it do it over and over again, which is a hassle, especially if you have, you know, a Warrenski last name or something like that, because the kids have to be able to do that, or the teacher has to take the time to do it. So there is a district site ID that we can send to all of you that the teachers can just log in with that, and then, I don't know, Pam, I'm going to have you explain it better. Hang on a minute.
Bookmark a site-specific site. It has
Start over.
So if you have a way of sharing, if you have a way of sharing a link like on a website, if your computer lab instructor has a website that they all go to, if they link that to the site-specific code, it's like a 16-digit number, it will go directly to the Alpine page, and they don't have to put in the teacher email. So it's really great in the computer lab, especially if your lab teacher can put that in, because then they don't have to keep registering that device with every new student. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And put the teacher's email address in every time. It was really frustrating, especially at the beginning of the year, with a teacher who had a difficult email address. And so that just saved us a ton of effort.
Okay, thanks. So we'll make sure we get that for everybody, so that, and that's something that we should make sure all coaches know, not just the coaches here today. So I'm going to make Pam be in charge of making sure that happens. All right, I think probably that covers most of what I wanted to show all of you. The only other thing I wanted to quickly just show you is this manage button. And this is where teachers can go in, and this is showing the different classes. And if you go here, you can actually see the students. And this is where I can't do it because I'm on a demo account. But if you had a real account, there would be a pencil right here. And you would click on that pencil, and that's where you would be able to go into program and change the reading placement right here. But because I have a demo, I can't do it. But a teacher's live account, that's where they could either go in and say, redo the auto placement. I would only do that if a child was really sick the day they auto placed and they haven't done any work. I might go in and redo it then. Otherwise, I would just go in and change their level and save that. So, Charlotte.
Is that also where you would change like your sixth graders to
Yes.
the other program?
Well, last year, yes. That's where you would have changed them to Core 5.
Yeah.
And you could still do that this year. If you have sixth graders, some teachers are like, I want all my sixth graders to take the Core 5 and see how they do. on the, and they can. But with the power up, we're still figuring out how that all works. And maybe Marcy will tell us more on Friday. So, Emily.
Sorry, it does say on here that you can edit placement in Lexia 4 and then reset placement. Next to it says delete option, and the other one doesn't say delete. So I'm guessing. I just wanted you to see that. So this one tells you it deletes it. This one doesn't. So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it
So
doesn't.
if you reset it, then it would delete it. But if you edit it, that's where you can change the level.
Yeah, I was just trying to connect to that one.
Yep. And sorry, I can't show you that up on the demo one, but is there any questions before, because we're at 4 o'clock and that's what Darren told me I needed to do.
I don't know if I have a too specific. We have a teacher who has email where like an email address is like an old email address. And like Lexia recognizes the old email, but it's not a functioning email.
Okay.
But like can't get into Lexia.
Let's ask Amy Mather about that, because that might be something, technically she should be getting that email fixed and getting everything fixed around that. So we want to get the proper email.
Yeah. Going into Mastery Connect.
Yeah.
Her maiden name email.
Let's talk to Amy Mather and see, because we'll need to get that. I think it's an email issue that way. Well, you guys, I think hopefully you feel a little bit more like what you know what you're doing, so that when we sit down on Friday, you're not completely new to all of this. And if you have questions, I can send this video, and I know you want to watch the whole thing again, but just kidding. You guys are ready to go home. You're not laughing at my stupid joke.